What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the official Third Age Reforged YouTube channel. My name is Jordan, also known as J-Monster, and I want to thank you guys for joining me for another Third Age Reforged replay battle. Today we'll be celebrating 0.97 and our very, very fast approaching release date of the 15th of June. And today I've got a 3 versus 4 siege for you on the redone MINAS ITHIL map by our very own WK. So it's a hell of a game. I hope you guys enjoy it. Defenders before we begin today's spectacle. The first army we're going to look at today is one of the Mordor attacking armies, this one commanded by Eclipse 2500. He has brought with him some Temple Guard, and you can see them there with their new model and reskin, based on Isildur from, is it Rise of Mordor? It's not Rise of Mordor. Something Mordor, I don't know, it's that Assassin's Creed Lord of the Rings game, the one I keep forgetting about. But yeah, pretty shiny. Armor-piercing archers, which is something that is making more of a comeback in 0.97 in very limited capacities. Units like the Temple Guard, however, will have longevity that the other units do not, in addition to increased accuracy and damage. So they do still have a leg up in certain aspects, but we'll talk more about some of the other units a little bit later on. Over here we have some Orc fodder defending the advanced battery of troll catapults that Eclipse has deployed here across the bridge. Looks like there's going to be about 2 or so units there. A lot of numbers to chew through. They do their job well enough, as well as can be expected from a low-tier Orc unit. Back across on the other side of the bridge, we have the main body of his army, consisting of Morinot infantry, a whole bunch of Morinot infantry, also some Orc maulers here, so a little bit of AP for good measure. Fairly expendable shock troops at that. They have decent numbers, and the armor piercing I think more than makes up for the lack of quality in that particular unit. Over here we have the Black Guard of Barad-dûr, one of the pushing units for Mordor. Their shield wall is extremely useful, and I see people not take advantage of it all the time. Units like the Black Guard or like the Blackwatch Legion, please put them in shield wall before you try to do the mass push. It will increase your chances of success astronomically. But yes, 2 units of the Black Guard of Barad-dûr right there. We also have some Temple Executioners, who are the melee-focused variant of the Temple Guard. And you can see they share that very similar model, but they are far, far scarier in close quarters. They have the extra numbers, they've got some more melee defense, they got more attack, and they've also got an armor upgrade as well. So there's a lot of utility that you can get out of this unit that you won't get from the Temple Guard in close quarters. Over here we have the fearsome Olaghai with their beautiful conquest models imported into the mod by our very own Crimson Behelit. Really, really good looking unit. And powerful as well. The Olaghai are no joke, not something that you want to be trapped in a prolonged melee exchange with. There's some Orc Javelins here as well, more non-halberds, and then some more forces a little bit more spread out here across the plains. I've got some more Orc Javelins there as well. I think that just about does it for Mordor, with the exception of, I believe, one hidden unit of Númenórean Rangers who are around here somewhere. Let's pop on over here, and we can take a look at the second attacking army. This is the Realm of Angmar, rather, played by one of our contributors, in fact, and that would be R.H. Blindness. He has brought some Barrow Wights, 2 units of the Barrow Wights, a whole bunch of the expendable Snaga Stalkers here. The first one is free, the second one is like 200, 300 or something. He's also brought some Witch Realm Pikemen here, who are not going to be rocking their armor upgrades today, but nonetheless are a very potent pike unit, although limited in number. Also got some Trolls from Angmar here, Blackwatch Legion, some Gundabad Guard. Both of these are, I believe, the Gundabad Guard are an Inspire unit, as are the Guardians of Karn-Dûm, giving 2 morale in 25 meters in a radius around them. I've also got some Witchers of Angmar here, and some Witch Realm Hammer Guard to round off the elite infantry line. And now that I mentioned it, there are actually some Nazgûl somewhere mixed in here in the Mordor line, so that's something that you're going to need to watch out for as well. I think they're probably hiding somewhere up here in the Orc fodder. Indeed they are. Let's move on to the third attacking army. This is going to be Harad, played by none other than WK himself, the map's creator. This is one of his favorite factions, and I am happy to be able to show off to you the new Haradrim reskins done by the Cowering Coma. These will be available in 0.97 in just a few weeks, and they are damn sexy. Look at this. We've got the Haradrim Spearmen here, a little bit more of a darker palette, whereas previously the Haradrim were quite brightly colored. And you can see the contrast here a little bit with the older Serpent Guard model. But that has actually been replaced by one of Coma's own design. So this will be a little detail we need to smooth out before release, now that I sit here and really take a good look at it. More Haradrim Spearmen. Got the Southron Warband here as well. I can get a good sense of how they're going to end up looking. I don't think they had cloaks previously. They definitely didn't have these wicked-looking spears and the scorpion shields here with those little bits cut out of them. Behind them, more Southron Warband, and it's worth mentioning these guys are also AP spears as well. So can potentially be very effective. Over here, Mahud Beast Hunters, 2 units of them. These are javelin units, and they're also armor piercing in close quarters with their little maces. That being said, they don't have a lot of armor. Obviously, you can probably figure that out by looking at them. And they're not really high on melee defense. So not exactly able infantry, but they do have a bit of a punch to them. Over here we have the dismounted Serpent Guard, which are using their currently available upgrade model in patch 0.96.1. So unfortunately I don't get to show you the new model today for the Serpent Guard. But there is a new one. It's very, very, very nice. If you guys want to get a sneak peek, I recommend checking out our mod DB. Everything that we release is on there. And we've got 1, 2, 3 units of the Serpent Guard. Worth noting that the Serpent Guard have been made far, far better than they were in a previous patch, where they were just a mid-tier infantry that Harad could use to pad out some of their more lightly armored units. Now the Serpent Guard are a proper elite infantry unit with 120 men in the unit. Really strong melee defense, high attack, but lower on armor and shield value, although that can be compensated somewhat with an armor upgrade. More Southron Warband over here, and we've got a catapult as well. I know that there's some trollmen hiding about here somewhere. I think they're on the other side of the river. Indeed they are. So we've got the 2 units of trollmen of Harad and 1 company of Demons of the Desert. So a pretty strong Haradrim army. Obviously very infantry focused. It is a siege after all, but it doesn't seem like anybody is expecting any cavalry rushes so far. But let's move on now to the 4th and final attacking army. We have the Forces of Rune. They're going to be commanded today by Bobo. He is bringing the Dragon's Wrath crossbowmen. Worth noting, but you're not going to see it in this particular version of the build, that the Dragon's Wrath crossbows now have a fiery projectile once again. So that brings it up to 3, I believe, units from Rune that have a fiery projectile. Not necessarily something that deals fire or morale damage, but most of the time it's just a purely aesthetic change to make them look like the psychotic dragon-worshipping fire fiends that they are. But yes, so Dragon's Wrath crossbowmen will have a fiery projectile, although not in this particular battle. 2 units here of the Balkoth tribesmen without their armor upgrades, sadly. Eastron crossbowmen, a couple units of the Eastron crossbowmen, a couple units of the Eastron hunters, and 2 units of the Eastron warriors, who it's worth noting are no longer a fodder tier unit. They are more of a mid-tier aggressive swordsman pick, sort of akin to the men-at-arms units from the other Kingdoms of Men, although they lack a shield and they have an extra weapon, making their offensive potential a little bit higher, but their defensive capabilities lower in measure. So we got 2 units of them there with their armor upgrade. Also got some Scion Rim, 2 units of Scion Rim, and a whole bunch of Flag Rim as well. Looks like 3 units of Flag Rim, and to top the whole shebang off, got a single unit here of the Commonwealth's Chosen, who are greatly improved. Now, this is a unit that is going to stir much controversy, but so I want to preface this introduction with a couple of things. One, we are not adding gunpowder units to the game. This is a placeholder model. There will be something a little bit more rune-appropriate, dragon-themed, that will come at a later date. It's probably not going to make it into 0.97, but we saw no reason not to add in the unit to add its functionality to the strength of rune. So, bombards and gunpowder units in general, strictly off limits, so don't freak out. What this thing does, and you're going to see it, you saw it in the introduction as well, is it shoots giant balls and streams of fire. It is the Dragon's Breath Cannon. It just says Dragon's Breath there, but I don't know why the name got cut off for some reason. But it is the Dragon's Breath Cannon, and it's a pretty cool new addition. It's anti-infantry, very low on ammunition, not effective at all against ramparts and walls and siege equipment and things like that. It is, however, very good at hurting infantrymen. So especially blobs of infantrymen, but like I said, it is low on ammo with about 6 ammunition, but the accuracy is so high that unless you're picking some truly preposterous targets, you will probably hit them most of the time. One other interesting feature is that the fireball effect is able to bounce, so you are able to hit things just behind before the fireball detonates in its final fiery explosion. So that's going to do it for the attackers. Let's go ahead and take a look at some really interesting additions to the mod in 0.97. But let's start with the more mundane. So we have the army of Gondor here, being commanded by Starling, one of our testers. And he's brought some Gondor archers with their full armor upgrades. And you're probably going to notice some differences here from Gondor in the last patch versus in 0.97. We have added new models to them. These are done by Taro, who is not technically on the team. These models have been available for quite some time, but they are miles away better than the previous Gondor models. So a little bit of a high-quality facelift for the entire Gondor roster. And over here, we've got the army of Numenor, who has also gotten a facelift. And a lot of their units have actually changed in functionality. Their roster has changed so much that my previous video on Numenor is going to need to be redone, because there are so many new features coming to that particular faction that it's obsolete at this point, so I will have to redo that. But I'll give you a bit of a rundown on some of the changes here. So we have the Romena Marksmen, previously capped at, I believe, 3, with 130 men in the unit. Now the Romena units have shrunk in size. They are all uniquely 120 men in the unit. The Romena Marksmen, however, are very, very different. They are extremely low on ammunition. They've only got about 5 ammo. But they have a special projectile that is linked to the Steel Bow, one of the fearsome terror weapons wielded by Numenor to great effect across the battlefields of Middle-earth. The Steel Bow works pretty simply. It's got good accuracy. It has a morale effect, so hitting units, it will do -2 morale to the units that it strikes over a certain amount of time. I think it's about 15-20 seconds, something like that. So it's not like a permanent morale shock, the way that that rotting meat from a trebuchet can be. But it also has an area damage effect, and it's armor piercing, which I know is going to be a bit of a controversial thing for a lot of people. But we have decided to experiment with this a little bit more and to add limited AP units like this, AP archers and things like that, back into the game. That being said, it's got about 33% or so less damage than the dedicated anti-armor archers, like the Temple Guard that we saw earlier. And I think there's one in Arnor or Arthedain or whatever, and then there's another one for Dale, but that will be changing into more of an artillery piece at a later patch. But it's got, less damage, less ammunition, less accuracy, but it does have some other effects that are unique to Numenor. So, kind of cool. I'm really excited to add these guys into the game. I don't think it's going to be quite on the level of Eldarinway archers previously, who had armor piercing, and I think a lot of people are still shell-shocked from that. They had a ton of ammunition and a ton more range. The Romena Marksmen are 180, so they're about 30 less than the Eldarinway would have been, and they've got far, far less ammunition, probably about 20% or so of the ammunition that the Eldarinway used to have. So very limited use, Not exceedingly useful in a skirmish fight. You're going to want to use them solely against infantry, so it does leave Numenor fairly vulnerable in an extended skirmish fight with some more dedicated factions, like the elves in particular, who come to mind. So a cool unit. They're decent infantry after the fact as well. But yeah, they've got some interesting utility projectiles. Over here, got the Numenorian Shadow Bows, the new name for the Shadow Guard, and they're rangers. They're the same as they've always been. These guys just have the golden reskin for the temple units that are still in Numenor's roster. Back here we got some Care Andros Marksmen, or Marksmen of Care Andros, and they're a little bit better than they were previously. Obviously, they've got a cool new model, and they've got a little bit more melee defense as well. Over here we have the Elder Council, which is a model that I believe was added from DAC. It is the work of Hummingbird, their model or their unit creator artist dude over there. And they make a nice addition to the Woodland Realm. I actually quite like them. There's 2 units of them right there. We've also got the Narnar Royal Guards, who have been changed mightily. The Narnar Royal Guard are no longer a 2 HP unit. They're a little bit larger, and it is the only truly high-tier archer, dedicated archer skirmish unit that Numenor can field. So, some checks and balances here to try and even out the potential of the Romana Marksmen. But yeah, just 1 unit of them here, of course. They're also an Inspire unit. Then we have some of the Romana Legionaries. This is a unit that is going to replace, I believe it was the Romana Marines. They're a little bit more heavily armored. You don't have to upgrade their armor. I think they're probably about the same price as the previous unit, but they do have better shield stats and better melee defense and a whole bunch of other stuff as well, because they are just a tad bit smaller, and their damage is very, very high. I think they've got about 13, or no, probably more like 14 damage. So their men are legionaries, very, very strong, worthy of the Numenorian martial legacy. Also got a trebuchet here from Numenor, and then we get to the really nitty-gritty stuff at the Gatehouse. Got some Gondor infantry from Starling, 2 companies of them. Got some Beligir pikemen who are going to be replacing the Romana pikes, who have been changed into an armor-piercing spear unit, which are capped at 2. And behind them, we've got the Seafarers of Nindamos, a familiar unit that has had their role shifted somewhat. They are now capped at 3, and they use axes instead of spears, and they have proper armor-piercing javelins at this point with a little bit of extra damage. That being said, they've only got 2 volleys, so you need to use them carefully. And that's kind of the case with a lot of Numenor skirmishing units, especially their hard-hitting armor-piercing ones, is that they're all very limited in their ammunition capacity, so you need to make good choices with how you use them. That being said, you have a little bit of wiggle room with 3 of the units. Got some more Seafarers over here. I believe we've got the full complement of 3, and then some more Romana Marksmen up here on the wall as well. Out in front, got some Ramasekor Garrison, some Gondor Spearmen. I think there's 2 companies in there. And we've got the Romana Spear Guards who are replacing the pikes, armor piercing. More of the Beligir pikemen, and then some more legionaries over here as well. Gondor archers up on the wall. More Romana legionaries stationed at various points throughout the city, because you never know when you're going to need your reserves. And now, oh, perhaps not just yet. There is one particular change that I'm really, really excited about, because I've wanted to see it in the game for basically ever since I saw Desolation of Smaug. But yeah, two pikes here, 2 guards of Osgiliath, a little bit more elite in this patch. Another unit of the Marksmen of Care Andros. And now, Mirkwood. I'm really excited to show this off to you guys. Here we have a reskin, some armor upgrades for the Woodland Realm. This is the one for the Elder Palace Guards. You can see that they've got the Palace Guard models from Thranduil's Guardsmen in Desolation of Smaug. Palace Guard, still very strong. I think they have a little bit more armor, although that might change in the next builds. But yeah, still it's still very much the beastly unit that it was previously. Here we've got the Hiri Long with their armor upgrades. And then, what do we got up here? Some more Gondor archers. And then over here, where are the rest of them? Where are they all hiding? I think Dreezy might have them all here in the center. Ah yes, here they are. So we have the Ents, who have been changed quite mightily. Previously they had an area effect on their damage, which was a little bit broken, and I kind of didn't intend for them to have that. It's just one of those details that got slipped. Got some Hiri Peng over here as well, all of them with their armor upgrades. Got some veterans of Osgiliath mixed in there. More Hiri Long. Some more Numenor units. The Heralds of Arendil fighting side by side with the Vanguard of King Elisar. Some Fountain Guard. Lots of Fountain Guard. Some Nimlothian Honor Guard. Narnar Sentinels still available to Numenor. Got some Hiri Auth here, so all the variants of the Hir units now have an armor upgrade that makes them look like the Palace Guard from Desolation of Smaug. Pretty cool. Got some Hir and Spearmen over here as well. You can get a sense of how they look like, and they've got those distinctive spears that the Palace Guard use, which I'm very, very happy about. One company here of the Blades of Emenduir, one unit of the Elders of the Elven King, and then finally some Wardens of Amon Lank. We did it. We made it through. There's a lot to say. Thank you guys for sticking with me. And now, without any further ado, as I slowly take my time leading up to it, we can start the battle. I hope you guys enjoy. And literally and figuratively, right out the gate, the defenders are going to launch a counterattack against Eclipse's advance guard here. It looks like they're going to try to silence the Troll Catapult early on in the game by sweeping away the Orc fodder line. That Catapult the Trebuchet rather, already opening fire on the reserves of Eclipse as he rushes forward to try and save his artillery piece. Down here on the ground, got the Temple Guard doing what they do best, but they are at a serious disadvantage thanks to the Romena Marksmen up there on the walls, who are well perched to rain down death and destruction upon their fallen Númenórean brethren. The Temple Guard, in a straight skirmish fight with the more numerous Romena Marksmen, is gonna go very poorly for them. These guys are a little bit better suited to sniping out high-quality units from a distance. Out here at the front of the gate, as those fireballs rain overhead, there goes the gate. Mirkwood Elves rushing out to be of some assistance to the men of Gondor as they push against this first line of Mordor. Orc fodder engaging with the Gondorian first line, all outside the gatehouse here. And it looks like the defenders are fairly well poised, at least for the time being, to sweep away the Orc fodder, provided that they can break them quickly, and that shouldn't be much of an object. There's not a ton of support units nearby, and they do have some fear-causing units like the Ents already on their way out here, so they could sweep away this front line and then catch Eclipse at a disadvantage, although they're going to have to be quick about it and get themselves into a position to bottle up Eclipse before he manages to make this crossing. Fireballs raining down from on high as the Orc Maulers get fricasseed by the dozens. Meanwhile, over here, WK's Haradrim have already taken up advanced positions underneath the wall, shielding themselves from the defenders on the battlements above. Trollmen of Harad, along with the Demons of the Desert, ready to rush through the gaps being created here by the Haradrim artillery. And they're very well poised here with a very clear line of fire to blow some holes in this wall. And they're going to do that to great effect here. The Romena Marksmen are being forced down off of the walls already, although it looks like they might already be out of ammunition. Very unfortunate. Again, you have to be careful with how you use their ammunition. If you forget a unit like this on auto fire, it will expend its ammunition before you can spit. So, be careful. Up here, it looks like Drizzy is getting some of his Hiri Peng into position to try and be of some assistance and contest the crossing here with the Haradrim at range. The Hiri Peng up there on the battlements against the lightly armored Haradrim is an absolute terror. Oh, what do you know? Another new unit here. I didn't even realize that they were here. We have the Serpent Fangs, a new bodyguard unit for Harad, more of a support bodyguard. They are, however, quite decent in melee with their two-handed Khopesh, and wait for it, they have poison arrows. It was just too good conceptually not to give the Serpent Fangs a little bit of venom, and so Harad now has access to that special projectile in an extremely limited capacity. Hiri Peng returning fire with the Haradrim. It seems like they're going to focus on this expensive elite unit here, which honestly isn't a bad idea. The Serpent Fangs don't have a ton of armor, and the Hiri Peng up there on their with their elevation advantage are going to be able to really make these guys pay for showing their ugly faces. Meanwhile, over here, things don't seem to be going terribly well for the Gondorians. I can see some of the support units here, the Gondorian archers, being forced off the battlements by some artillery fire here from Eclipse of the Dark Cloud, and unfortunately the defenders were not able to sweep away the Orc fodder before reinforcements were able to reach the line. And now you've got the Nazgul here in the center, breaking the Ramesek garrison like a rotten stick. And now the Gondorians on the wings, both companies of those spearmen, still quite healthy, are going to be dangerously exposed to encirclement. Reinforcements are definitely needed if the defenders plan on holding this outer approach to the city. And got up here. Looks like the Gondorian archers have switched walls to the other side of the battlements, or rather, maybe that's just the second company there, and they are providing some close-range support with their mighty bows. And I think they're probably going to go after the halberds. That would be a good plan, although it seems like they're trying to focus down the troll catapult crew, which is a little bit of a risky prospect, as the troll catapults in front tend to tank arrows quite nicely. They have a very large hitbox, and the arrows don't really do a whole lot of damage to them unless they are on fire. In fact, they do next to nothing. And that's going to leave this troll catapult here free to turn the walls of Minas ITHIL into Swiss cheese. Got some other Gondorian archers over here who are trying to provide a little bit of support as well, already coming under fire from that catapult. Luckily, they are far enough away from the battlements that they are not going to be clipped by the AoE fire radius of the fire ammunition from the troll catapult, but they are still in a lot of danger. Starling doing his best to bottle up his enemies, but the spearmen down at the gatehouse cannot hold for much longer. They are being swiftly overwhelmed by the numbers and the quality that Mordor was able to bring to bear here. In particular, the Nazgul, who are right in the thick of things, hacking down Gondorian infantry left and right. And what do we have here? Looks like the Ents have come around to silence the troll catapult and relieve a little bit of pressure on the Gondorian skirmishes up on the walls to allow them to do their job. Troll catapult here are not going to have a fun time against Ents. That being said, reinforcements are on the way. Angmar has arrived on scene, as has Eclipse of the Dark Cloud with his javelin units. And they're going to be particularly effective against the Ents, and I think that Dreezy knows this, so he's going to try and pull out of there with all that remains of his Shepherds of the Forest, and maybe go for a cheeky rear charge here against the Moranon units. This could be a big break for Gondor if he is able to break this blob of infantry and sweep them away. What do we have over here? Looks like the Numenorian shadow bows, however, have maneuvered themselves onto the right wing of Gondor, and I know exactly what they're going for. They're going to lay down some devastating, enfilading fire into the Gondorian infantry here, who are holding on, but just barely, against the hordes of Mordor. And here they go. Let's see what happens. The heavy armor and shields of the Gondorians should stand them in fairly good stead now that Rangers have been reduced to a smaller and more modest damage value of 4. However, it still hurts, it's still going to claim lives, and nobody likes to get shot in the back. We'll come back and discover the fate of the Gondorians later. Over here, Harad is coming in a big way. The Romena Legionaries teaming up with the Hiri Lang to try and hold this choke point from the fierce men of Harad and their bestial allies. The Trollmen of Harad not in a good position here. Against the Hiri Lang, the Trollmen of Harad are going to have some difficulties, and of course there are the Seafarers of Nindamos nearby as well, and they're going to be raining down fire support into the lightly armored hordes of the east. Demons of the Desert here, well, not having a good time. WK needs to be a little bit careful with how he uses them, or he could lose them very quickly. You can already see the demons beginning to drop. This is a tough position for them to be in, and reinforcements are on their way after having handily defeated a unit of Trollmen. We have some Hiri Lang and the Elven King's Palace Guard. This could be the end of the Haradrim push, unless WK is able to do something drastic. He's going to reposition here with the Demons of the Desert, who have taken heavy casualties very quickly from the Seafarers of Nindamos, but this could be the opportunity that they need. The Seafarers, as I mentioned, have limited ammunition. The Mirkwood archers desperately trying to stop these Demons of the Desert from tossing their deadly javelin payloads, but I don't think it's going to matter. Boom, baby! And a lot of those Hiri Lang are going to drop. Oh, that was just devastating. Hiri Lang, half the unit nearly, a little bit more perhaps, killed off in that single volley there. Demons of the Desert are extremely deadly, but as we've seen, very, very vulnerable. That being said, the tide is turning against the Haradrim as the Serpent's Fangs are helpless to keep the Haradrim spearmen in the fight. Luckily, Harad's ally Rune has come up to try and make up for some of the numbers here. WK is also pushing the battlements here with a couple companies. Got the Champions of Nafarad, who I missed in the introduction, and the Serpent Guard as well. So the massed infantry ranks here are going to be sufficient, I think, to hold against Rune, but Harad does definitely have a foothold in the city, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Take a look at the percentages there, 19 to 16. Let's see what's happened at the gate here. Seems like we're a little bit too late to catch the demise of the Gondorian units, and we can see them now fleeing into the city, what remains of them at any case. And they're beginning to put up a stand here in the courtyard of the moon. This is the proud city of the men of Numenor, and Gondor and Numenor are not going to let it fall today, not without a hefty cost in orc and eastern blood. The Ents here trying to help the pikemen against their dark counterparts, the Trolls of Angmar. And the Ents are a far superior unit to the Trolls of Angmar. Better damage, better armor, and some really high melee defense as well. But they are heavily depleted from all of the sorties that Drizzy has been using them to run outside the gate. Let's see what we got here. The Olokai badly mauled because of their contact with the Ents. Temple Guard down to a meager 12. Troll Catapult possibly out of ammunition. No, indeed. You can see how quick they are. That is a new feature. One of the things that we've done is to make artillery a little bit more responsive by increasing their speed. So it's now not going to take you 10 minutes to turn around with your artillery. They will be faster, more responsive, and you'll be able to use them to greater effect on the battlefield. Just a little bit of extra maneuverability. It's worked out quite nicely so far. Outside the walls here, we got the Nazgul, and forming up behind them the Numenorian Shadowbows. This fight here at the gatehouse is looking dire for Mordor. They previously had a nice foothold here, but a push from Gondor and Numenor has seen the attackers out the gatehouse very, very promptly. Ooh. A nasty catapult hit there, going to claim the lives of some of the massed ranks of pikemen. Certainly Sin of the Dark Cloud and Starling aren't going to let themselves get massacred like this, and you can already see them beginning to pull off to the side, and they're going to wait for the attackers to come to them. Popping back over to the other side. It seems like the defenders they're holding on. Serpent Guard here, however, coming down in force against the very, very depleted unit of Hiri Long. However, over at the choke point, it seems like the Seafarers and the Elves of Mirkwood have managed to hold back the tide. The Eastrun warriors here are being massacred mightily, and the Haradrim are already on the point of breaking. The only thing they really have going for them is a depleted unit here of the Trollmen of Harad. It's a lot of Harad's killing power that they've lost already by losing 2 units of Trollmen. That's going to make them rely on the Serpent Guard here even more. And WK is looking... He's being very aggressive here with these units, which is, always fun to see. But he also needs to be a little bit careful lest he lose what remaining killing power is left to his army. Let's see what we have up here. Some Hiri Long, some Hiri Auth, plus the Palace Guard. What remains of them in any case. About 26. Still not bad. Still a fearsome unit. Some more reinforcements that begin to move in over here as well. And WK's very brave, very valiant push is going to find itself under some pretty serious pressure, especially from the rear with those javelins taking up position. Dismounted Serpent Guard pressing against the mass ranks of the Hiri Auth and their Numenorian allies. Trying to do their best to break the encirclement here at this one choke point, but there's a lot of tools the defenders have available to them. They might just be able to break through the attacking forces here and rout them off, and indeed they are. Eastron warriors just getting absolutely slaughtered. We've got some Balkoth tribesmen out there outside the choke, tossing in their javelins to the Hiri Long. That being said, it's surprising how much the extra couple points of armor will increase the survivability of the traditionally quite lightly armored Mirkwood units. Serpent Guard pushing in at the same time that Bobo is laying down pressure with his javelins. Oof. This is looking like a tough one. Dismounted Serpent Guard here, pushing off to try and get into some of the squishier units, or what you'd expect might be squishier, trying to support some of the Trollmen as they push against the Elders of the Elven King, silencing some of the skirmishing potential from the defenders. The Remena Marksmen and the Shadowbows in particular would have been a very, very scary thing to let fire off their ammunition and let them do their job unimpeded. And now Sin of the Dark Cloud is going to be forced to reposition them. Remena Marksmen and those Rangers now shoving off. The Elders of the Elven King, however, against the depleted units here of Serpent Guard and the Trollmen, they're going to have no problem cleaning house. Now over here, what do we have? Oh, we have the Greenwind Rangers in their new model. Hey, you get to see that. Hiri Peng firing pretty well point blank into I have no idea. Just firing at the tower. Huh, that's weird. Oh, the dragon cannon, though. Look at the damage that thing can do. Just beautiful. Carving a swath here through the defending Numenorean infantry. You got to be careful. Doesn't have a lot of ammunition, but it is very, very strong. It seems like a lot of the Herodrum on this end have been cleaned up with a small company here of spearmen just barely resisting, and they are now broken. So Sin the Darkcloud has moved in with his Remented Legionaries to plug this gap. And now, with the fate of this particular choke point hanging in the balance, let's see what's going on elsewhere. Ooh, some of the Hediauth reinforcements have moved in here against the champions of Nafarat, and they are defeating them quite soundly, in fact. Using their numbers, using their improved stats with those armor upgrades, and more reinforcements on their way up. You can see some of the Hedinek doing their thing. Ooh, they just took something just took a big bite out of their numbers. It looked like maybe the Dragon's Wrath crossbows. Got Ramasek or Garrison archers who have come back from routing. A whole bunch of elites over here maneuvering themselves into a position to try and support the failing lines of Numenor and Mirkwood on the other end. Over at the gatehouse, however, they have stood strong, and even looks like some troops here have even sallied out. The Beliar pikemen making a stand about the gatehouse, trying to get a piece of the Mordor artillery. Rather, the troll catapult is going to be able to move itself away, but some of the trolls look like they might have got caught up there in the fray. That being said, it's a drop in the bucket, and you can see more and more reinforcements swarming their way towards the gatehouse, and I don't think the Beliar pikemen will be able to stand for too much longer. That being said, the gatehouse here is the central gatehouse is probably the best defended point on the defending lines, and they've had a whole lot of success with it. What do we got here? Reinforcements moving in to apply more pressure to this crumbling northern breach. And how are the Mirkwood Elves doing? So far so good. Remented Legionaries still holding the line. A small company of them. This is some real 300 action right here. Those Remented Legionaries are not going to give ground easily. Outer Council. I wonder what they're doing. Mahud Beast Hunters tossing some javelins into the rear of the Seafarers and Indamos, who are getting massacred here by that combination of javelin fire and the Serpent Guard. That being said, the Serpent Guard are also being pressured from the rear by a fairly substantial unit of Hiri Peng. And against 75 dismounted Serpent Guard, I think these Hiri Peng might be just what the Doctor ordered. What are the Elder Council up to? Don't seem to be doing a whole lot. I think maybe Derizi doesn't realize exactly what these units are doing. Maybe they're trying to put a little bit of fire into the Mahud Beast Hunters, and they're running into a little bit of line of sight issues here. Ooh, and over those battlements pours a hail of arrows, trying to disrupt and push the Elder Council out of position. And looks like it's going to be successful. Derizi is going to turn around and maybe try and go after the dismounted Serpent Guard here instead. And now that the Mahud Beast Hunters looking like they're out of ammunition, they're going to have to come down from that wall and face the Numenorians and the Hiri Peng, which is something I don't think that they're really all that equipped for. Although, that being said, I could be wrong. They do still have some remaining ammunition. Shadow bows, however, are well positioned to make them pay for this very bold stance that they've taken. And let's see what happens. Nope, no such luck so far. Maybe the Sin of the Dark Cloud doesn't see it. Are they gonna toss? We'll come back. Reinforcements have been brought to the gatehouse for both sides. Now the Balkoth tribesmen have joined the fray, and the failing legionaries have been bolstered by some elven infantry. Got some Hiri Auth here, and some Hiri Long. About 30 or so elves have joined that breach there, and they are bottling up the enemy very, very nicely. I have to say, I'm impressed with how the defenders have been using their numbers in this particular game. Like, there's not a lot of troops here, but this is a great way to make your enemies pay far disproportionate casualties to your losses. Oh. Some shots from the fire cannon. Not hitting anything in particular. This is one of those very difficult shots that you probably don't want to take with the fire cannon. There's way too much stuff intervening here, and it is a waste of its extremely limited ammunition. Greenwood Rangers I'm not too sure what they're going after here. There's not really any good targets for them. There are some Eastern Hunters, but the Eastern Hunters have the numbers and the missile damage to really put the hurt onto the Greenwood Rangers. So probably not a great use of their skills. Meanwhile, over here, Elven King's Palace Guard holding back a push from the Elven King's Palace Guard, Hiedialth, and I think there's some spears mixed in there as well, holding back a push from the Flag Rim and the Camel Shadow Guard. And Bobo is going to be able to muscle his way in here. And he's going to inflict some pretty serious damage on his enemies, attacking the Elder Council from the rear now. It seems like a lot of Mirkwood's forces are in a pretty ragged state. Mirkwood's been very aggressive, very active in this defense, but it is starting to cost them. And now the defenders are down by a significant amount, 48% to 33%. And at the same time, Mordor and Angmar are pushing the gatehouse. But again, comparatively smaller numbers of quality troops are holding off the unwashed masses of the evil hordes. And they're going to make these Snaga units here pay for every inch of ground in hard-fought Orcish blood. And honestly, they're not going to gain a whole lot of ground, just trying to use wave tactics against a far superior unit like this, especially not against the pikes. These Snagas are just being thrown under the bus to die, probably to try and wear down the defenders and tire them out more in particular. Oh, I think now the time has come for this particularly valiant defense to end, as the Southron Warband are going to use their shield wall push ability to muscle their way in here, and the defenders are going to fall apart quickly. The Hiedilang falling away, along with the Ravenna Legionaries. Now would be a good time for those Greenwood Rangers to be used. Ooh, I can hear those Ranger shots going off. And the Southron Warband are not appreciating it, but they are going to break through nonetheless. Well, Ravenna Marksmen, don't know what they're firing at. Probably firing at the rear of the Dragon's Wrath crossbowmen who have managed to breach the walls. It is just chaos. There is just dead bodies everywhere from both sides. Gondor archers moving in to plug the gap left by the valiant Ravenna Legionaries. Ooh, and that Southron Warband are going to take a volley on the chin from the Rangers, and with the addition of some Gondorian archer reinforcements, they are going to break. Gotta say, great back and forth so far. Now WK is going to try a bit of a different tack here. Instead of trying to push through this heavily defended choke point, he is going to head up onto the ramparts and try and reinforce some of the units he's already got down here. Mahud Beast Hunters have now descended from the heights, and they're fighting against the Elder Council. Elder Council, outnumbered though they may be, are still more than a match, I feel, for the Mahud Beast Hunters, and they are going to break. We got over here, the Serpent Guard managed to fight their way out of that encirclement, but now they've come face to face with the Elders of the Elven King, and that's going to be all she wrote for that particular unit. Well, a bit of a sally here, the Gondor Archers moving out against, oh no, a definite misstep here. The Flag Rim can't really be dealt with effectively by Rangers, especially not from this angle, and they're going to smash apart the poor Gondorian Archers, who are not meant for this kind of fight against this kind of foe. Yeah, and those maces and armor-piercing axes are going to crunch their way through the Gondorians. The worst has happened. The Elven units were not able to hold the line, and Bobo is going to be able to come in here in force. Got some Scion Rim moving in, possibly 2 units of Scion Rim. One small holdout here of defenders peppering the attackers as they move in. What are they going after? Dragon's Wrath crossbowmen. Not a bad target at all. The Elven King Palace Guardsmen being felled by some friendly fire. They're down now to 4, so they're essentially just being used as fodder to hold things in place. More reinforcements coming in. Mahud Beast Hunters, dismounted Serpent Guard, and the Flag Rim and the Shadow Guard, who were very, very brave and instrumental at establishing a hold here, have been beaten quite thoroughly. The Shadow Guard have been routed, and the Flag Rim are on the verge of being defeated as well. Hopefully the Haradrim reinforcements can get here in time before they lose another foothold in this heavily contested first ring of the city. Oh, the Ravenna Spear Guards getting just pummeled right now by the Mahud Beast Hunters, who are well situated to apply pressure to this important unit. These are AP, heavily armored, elite AP spears. Oh, and they are just getting absolutely hammered. And this could be what the attackers need at this point. Yeah, really thinning out the reserves there. So many of them have died. Half the unit is gone now in those 3 volleys. The Serpent Guard are going to move in at an opportune moment. Finally, the defenders are going to be able to put a little bit of pressure on the Mahud Beast Hunters, but it is far too late. Another volley there, going to thin out the Spear Guards even more. Although I think that's going to claim some of the dismounted Serpent Guard as well. Flag Rim holding on for dear life. Other council moving in. Still some Ithilian Rangers over here. Hotly contested this gatehouse is. If you'll excuse my Yoda grammar. And now at the same time, Bobo is spearheading an assault for his allies with his 2nd company of the Scion Rim. They're going to muscle their way through the guards of Osgiliath. Luckily, there's a 2nd company nearby, and Starling is going to move them in as quickly as possible to try and stop this push before it can get truly out of hand. And the Remenda Spear Guards are nearby as well. That's going to be a problem for the Scion Rim for sure. Those 2 heavily armored spear units going up against each other. I know who I would bet on, and it's the company with AP. That being said, Mordor now lending a weight of numbers, but oh, Sin of the Dark Cloud hammering them with a volley there from his trebuchet. And so many of those Snaga are going to break. And just look at the destruction that has been caused here about this gatehouse. Thousands upon thousands of dead attackers have perished in the assault on this central gatehouse. And Numenor, I think, is doing the right thing in defending it. This is probably the most significant choke point that they have available to them on this map, except perhaps the 2nd one back here. But this is where they can really win or lose the game in these opening plays. Ooh, more volleys coming in. That might be enough, I think, to rout the Scion Rim. Nope, they're holding on. They're still trying to push, still doing their duty for Rune. I don't know. I don't expect them to hold on for too much longer. So the Greenwood Rangers have shifted away. Marksmen of Kaer Andros trying to lend some range support here, and the attackers are being beaten back once again by a counter-offensive. Got some Elder Council here, and some more of the Numenor infantry who have started to really take their toll on the Haradrim, especially with that range support. The defenders probably won't be able to hold this in the long term, but I highly suspect that they're going to be able to do some serious damage to the attackers, and that's going to make it worth it all by itself. Camel Shadow Guard here being targeted by some Rangers, shot from the rear. Very nasty position for them to be in. Elder Council caught out, surrounded, outnumbered. Remenda Marksmen really in a bad position here. They're this one lone pocket amidst a sea of foes. And then over here, the Seafarers of Nindamos have been pincered by the Southron Warband, being pinned against the mighty hammer, or rather the mighty anvil of the Loxion Rim. And the Seafarers, I think, are not too long for this world. And that really leaves this side of the defending lines in absolute tatters. I wonder if Dreezy was able to get anything out of here. Doesn't seem like it. A couple here repaying managed to survive the fierce struggle over here with the Serpent Guard, but it's not really much. Each time it seems like the defenders are going to be able to bring it back, the attackers just keep the pressure on and manage to regain what territory did they lose. 64-54. That being said, the defenders have brought it back a fair amount. Still an 8% difference now. But that can change. That can change really quickly. Remenda Legionaries here fighting against the Serpent Guard. I would expect the Remenda Legionaries to win this pretty handily. It says the defeat is certain, but honestly, they're not losing any men, whereas the dismounted Serpent Guard most certainly are. So expect this to turn around pretty shortly. Ooh, lots of range support as the Elder Council give their lives to hold back the tide of the East and give the Gondorian Archers and the Greenwood Rangers a chance to swing the battle in their favor. Roger Spearman, these Eastern Hunters, a good target for those Rangers. They're all trying to swarm against the Legionaries, who have only taken 4 casualties here. Yeah, I knew the Legionaries would come through. This is the kind of fighting that the Legionaries like. They'll be able to hack their way through everything that's here. Well, Haradrim Spearman wanting to pick a fight with the Marksmen of Kaer Andros. Honestly, I would have let them fight it out. These guys are two-handed swordsmen They're no joke. They'll quite handily defeat the Haradrim Spearmen, along with the Flag Rim. Yeah, I think that redeploying here was a bit of a mistake. The Marksmen of Karanos were definitely capable of beating back this push. They probably would have routed them shortly, and that's going to leave the Greenwood Rangers in a precarious position. They are not quite so able to defend themselves. They have good damage and good melee defense, but yeah, their armor is not exactly amazing, and there's not very many of them either. A big push here from Mordor, but it doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. They make it in just a little bit farther each time. It's like watching the tide come in. Every time they're beaten back, they come back stronger and manage to get just a little bit farther. This is pretty tough for the defenders, but it seems like Sin of the Dark Cloud has the cure, and that is a well-positioned and well-timed trebuchet volley. Got some shadow bows who have moved in. Very ballsy, trying to provide close range support against all these heavily armored units like this. Some might say foolhardy. I won't say it though. Ooh, the Nazgul going toe-to-toe with the Númenóreans. Many of the Nazgul, in fact, are Númenórean. So this is a grudge match for the ages. Oh, another brutal volley there from the trebuchet. And the Spear Guards sally forward to take on the Barrow Whites, to take on the Nazgul, standing firm in the face of one of the most terrifying sights, I think, that can be seen. And that is the shambling hordes of what are essentially the undead. This is a zombie apocalypse scenario if I ever saw one. Mornon halberds pushing in to try and support, but really the meat of the teeth of the Mordor assault here is going to be the Temple Executioners, who have finally joined the fray. And I think with the addition of the Executioners plus the Nazgul, this might be more than the Númenóreans are equipped to handle. That being said, they are not going to give an inch of ground. This is their city, their home. And of course, they've still got that trebuchet making itself felt. Oh, and some more reserves have been maneuvered up by Sin of the Dark Cloud. Some legionaries. Maybe, just maybe, the defenders can hold back this storm. Yeah, those Temple Executioners looking pretty worse for wear. About a third of the unit has been cut down already. Probably thanks to the trebuchet. Rangers of Ithilien trying to help on the Greenwood Rangers, getting brutalized by the Flag Rim. They may come out victorious, but there's not really very many of them left. They can't be nearly as effective as they used to be with the 50 men that they had previously. And over here, it seems like most defenses have been swept away. The Remenant Legionaries still holding the line, though. They've beaten back the Serpent Guard. They're now taking on the Campbell's Chosen, and they show no signs of stopping. Ooh, and some of the Fountain Guard have appeared. That's always a sight that you're going to be happy to see if you are a Gondorian ally. There's a formation of the Fountain Guard appearing on the horizon. Very deadly, two-handed, armor-piercing spears. That being said, this is probably not the best place for them to be. The Fountain Guard are extremely vulnerable to missiles, and there are some Eastron crossbowmen with an excellent firing solution. So the Fountain Guard are going to be forced to retreat. The Remenant Legionaries will be left to their own devices. This is not a winning fight, but nonetheless, they will inflict damage in their passing. Just look at it, just carpets of bodies everywhere. And this whole square is just a slaughterhouse. Really heavy street-to-street fighting that saw most of Mirkwood's army destroyed, but also a significant number of the Haradrim and the Easterlings. Those Remenant Legionaries are holding on. Gotta say, I'm impressed with their performance in this game so far. Ooh, what do we got here? Camel Shadow Guard and some Scion Rim. I don't know why they're thinking about routing, possibly because of the presence of the Wardens of Amon-like, who are fear-causing. There's also some Fountain Guard nearby. If these guys move any farther forward, they're going to find themselves in a pretty difficult spot, I think. That being said, help is on the way. All they have to do is hold the line, and the Balkoth tribesmen will do the rest. But let's see. I'm not seeing a lot of reserves here from the Easterlings or from Harad. I just see a lot of dead infantry. 71 to 74. Things have evened out mightily. The defenders are still in this, and I think a lot of that has to do with the valiant defense that was put up over on this side, but also most especially Sin of the Dark Cloud's Trebuchet. That thing's got to come out of this game with like a few hundred kills at the very least, which is particularly impressive for artillery. It seems like the valiant stand of the Legionaries is coming to an end here. The Camel's Chosen have taken surprisingly heavy losses in the face of just a single unit of Legionaries, but now Rune is going to overwhelm them, and that's going to be all she wrote. Balcott Tribesmen over here. Ooh, this is a great place for them to be. The Shadow Guard and the Scion Rim pinning the Fountain Guard in place, and also well positioned to cut off the retreat from the square, which has been overrun. The Ravenna Legionaries in full retreat. The Nazgul and the Temple Executioners in pursuit. And this is looking pretty grim as the defenders try to hastily fall back into the town center. Wardens of Minas Ithil laying down some covering fire as the Wardens of Amon Length flee past the Fountain Guard, who are giving their lives in a rearguard action to hold back the tide. Ravenna Legionary, a small band of them, are going to escape the ruin of the defense at the gatehouse. And this area was held for so long by the defenders, but finally their resolve was broken at the cost of many lives on both sides. Now Angmar is going to be free to move in with their heavily armored reserves. This fight is nowhere near over, and the defenders are starting to slip backwards. And now there is a 6% lead for the attackers. And that is only going to grow as the Fountain Guard begin to fall. Sin of the Dark Cloud has lost 2 of his Trebuchet pieces so far, but he is slowly limping forward with what remains of his crew with one final piece. And it seems like the Numenorians, against all odds, and thanks to the Fountain Guard, are going to be able to salvage one of their trebuchets, and that's going to be an invaluable piece of equipment moving in to this final choke point. One thing you may have noticed over previous iterations of Minas Ithil is that there is just one choke point now for the inner square. It makes it a little bit more difficult on the attackers, but the defenders, I think, definitely needed a little bit of help on this map, whereas before it had 3 entrances into this courtyard, and that was asking a lot, I think, in a lot of cases. And what have we got here? What remains of the Fountain Guard being swept away? And now we're moving into the end game. We are in the end game now, ladies and gentlemen. Elders of the Elven King hacking apart the catapult crew from Harad. There goes Dreezy's general, cut down by what remains of the Campbell's Chosen. I think that's probably... no, that'd be the Elders of the Elven King. They're just very spread out here. And now they may even end up routing. What was the final count here? I gotta say, that's like 14 or so casualties from the Ravenna Legionaries as they were fighting everything else against this Campbell's Chosen. Very impressive. Worthy of the legacy of Numenor, indeed. And now the attackers are going to maneuver what's left of their ragged armies into position and begin to assault this final choke point here. So I'm going to go ahead and kick things into 2x speed. Seems like they're not willing to let their momentum slide away from them. Oh, we got the Witchers! All 13 of them. Oh, let's see if they manage to get a decent hit there. Ooh. It's going to take a big bite out of the Ravenna Legionaries, but it's also, I think, going to rout the Trebuchet crew. Oh, that's beautiful. There's 5 of them left, though. That's enough to man this piece. But still, nicely done. I mean, it's not an amazing use of ammunition, since a lot of the shots are hitting the ramparts, but at the very least they took out the trebuchet, although they did come back immediately. And that green Witcher fire there. I really like this. I got a picture of that. That might be in our thumbnail. We'll see. And again, Sin of the Dark Cloud using his numbers extremely effectively to hack down these lighter troops. Ravenna Legionaries. These guys were the ones who were fighting at the gatehouse. The survivors of the outer defenses have now found their courage once again. And they're going to do a lot of damage to these light troops. And that's kind of most of what I think Rune has left at this point is light infantry. It's Angmar who's got all the heavy stuff. Rune, at the very least, does have some skirmishers that'll be useful to support any pushes that Blindness may undertake. A little bit of flag room here as well, so a little bit heavy infantry left for Rune. Temple Executioners, Nazgul, lots of Javies. Ooh, and Hammer Guard as well. Yep. The attackers are still in it for sure. 2 units of Pikemen, Gundabad Guard, all the good stuff.
It is coming for us.
What's happened? Ah, the Trebuchet. Down to 4. It's just so close to being rendered inoperable. What are these Wardens of Minas ITHIL doing? Ooh, shredding their way through the light infantry here. The Wardens of Minas ITHIL, unlike other Rangers, still have high attack values. They've got about 6 missile damage to make up for their fairly low numbers. And they're pretty damn good in melee after the fact as well. So in this kind of situation, as a last resort unit, this is where they can really, really shine. Scion Rim pushing the Romana Legionaries, and defeat is an inevitability for them. But nonetheless, the Legionaries are given as good as they get here. Just for 15, they are still taking lives and taking names. Let's go ahead and fast forward things just a little bit, as we come in now to the final 10,000 frames of this tremendously entertaining siege. Legionnaires still being pressed hard. Seems like everyone is just trying to get things into position. And I think now that the Barrow Whites have arrived on scene in force, we might see a push begin from Blindness. Although he is kind of just standing out in the open a little bit, getting some of his troops shot, which is it's a waste of lives. There's no reason. Hide behind the ramparts until you're ready. Take a page out of Bobo's book here, and and emulate that particularly prudent behavior. Oh, I see. Eclipse of the Dark Cloud coming up with his catapult. Got some Eastron crossbowmen maneuvering themselves in behind, well situated to put a little bit of pressure into the choke point. But the loss of these trebuchets is actually going to prove to be important for the defenders, because this is going to block the line of sight for a lot of missile units. So Orc Javelins, Eastron crossbowmen, it's not going to be easy for them to get a good angle on the fairly exposed defenders on the inside. Let's see what we got here. Seafarers of Nindamos maneuvering themselves behind the Legionaries, who are still at 11. They were at like 15 a little while ago. They're just doing so well here. Ooh. But now, though, the Seafarers of Nindamos being torn asunder by that Troll catapult. They've used the last of their ammunition. Now Sin of the Dark Cloud is going to commit them. But it seems like they're using his own strategy against them, just sending in some cheaper, some tar pit units like the Balkoth Tribesmen and the Barrow Whites, and now Eclipse is going to be able to use the artillery to deal with the blobbed up forces of the defenders. We have like an artillery standoff here with the trebuchet on one side and the catapult on the other, firing point blank at each other. Ooh, I wonder how long this is going to last. Oh, don't do it, trebuchet. Look at this. Oh, and they're desperately trying to push through the Seafarers of Nindamos. Oh no, just shoot. Don't push yourself in. Oh, I think this might be the end of the trebuchet. I was hoping for an artillery duel, but it's going to be a real one-sided duel. Many of the Seafarers of Nindamos are going to fall as that trebuchet collapses on them and that fiery missile takes its toll. Ooh, Blindness coming in here for a big push. The Black Watch Legion with their shield wall. As I mentioned, it's way more effective when you use them this way. And that's going to force the defenders to react. See the Narnar Sentinels, pikes on both sides, Nimlothian Honor Guard and the Fountain Guard moving in to check the advance of the Black Watch Legion. But there needed to be some follow-through here. And it seems like there will be, finally. It's a little bit far behind. But now that Trebuchet is offline, probably, in fact, definitely for good, the attacker should be feeling a little bit emboldened, more willing to run in here into the guns of the remaining defenders and to try and force something decisive. Well, still got a lot of Heralds of Arendil, though. That's a nice unit to have. Very, very strong. Lock morale, a lot of damage, and a small shield value as well. Oh, and in comes Blindness with everything he's got. Guardians of Karn Doom joining the fray alongside the Scion Rim. Got what remains of the Shadow Guard joining the fray as well. Camel's Chosen rather. Oh, did Starling just lose his general? Damn, he did. But yes, the Shadow Guard joining their brothers in here, and the what are they called? The Gundabad Guard in here as well. A lot of Inspire units, but it doesn't seem to be enough. There's a lot of damage being poured into this attacking push, and it is going to break them very, very quickly. Looks like there is some of Mirkwood's forces still left over. Got the Hiranek and the Wardens of Ammon Length, who are actually pouring fire arrows in here, and that's, I think, is going to be decisive. This could be it. I mean, it's still very close, but with a mass rout like this, that could wipe out any hope. Sorry about that. Any hope of the attackers pulling out a victory here today. Oof. And this Gundabad Guard trying to push in, but now is not a good time. None of them are feeling particularly safe, and a mass rout is going to happen. Marksman of Karandros. Wardens of Minas ITHIL, so many missile units still remaining. And that's really what's keeping the defenders in this. Is just the preponderance of missile units they still have available to them at this late point in the game, many of whom haven't fired a shot up until this point. Heralds of Arendil in close combat. It looks like the Temple Guard are in there as well, but they are too depleted to really be effective against these deadly Numenorian warriors. Beautiful. The martial prowess and the grace of these units as they scythe their way through black Numenorians, through the undead, through the best that the men of the East have to offer. Backed up by the Fountain Guard, truly inspiring to see Numenor fighting alongside their wayward children. But it seems like the executioners are not going to let this challenge go unanswered. And they are very much an equivalent of the Heralds of Arendil. I think they have a little bit more damage and a little bit less defense. But they are more than a match. Well, I won't say more than a match, but they are a good match, I should say, for the Heralds of Arendil. 88 to 85. For the first time, I think, in the entire game, the defenders are actually ahead by a few percent. Pikemen marching in now, trying to lend some support, but I think Blindness is being a little bit too eager here. Well, that being said, he has managed to inflict a fair amount of damage and make a good deal of progress here, but the defenders are pushing back. Ooh, crossbowmen. That's got to be these strong crossbowmen, laying into the Narnar Sentinels and the Nimlothian Honor Guard. Another volley, perhaps? Some really nice enfilading fire. A good tit for tat with the amount of missiles that the defenders are using against the attackers here. 90 to 87. It's still very close. The defenders are pulling it ahead, though. Ooh, and this is fast becoming a massacre. Looks like some Witcher fire actually getting caught up on the trebuchets here. That could have been exactly what the Doctor ordered, but unfortunately, with so much debris from the course of battle in front of this gatehouse, it's actually proving to be a decisive boon for the defenders in this case. Massive counter push here as the attackers give ground underneath the weight of this defending counterattack. Marksman Karandros doing their best. Witcher from Hammerguard have joined the fray. Heralds of Arendil down to 24, so the Temple Executioners have definitely done well. They've matched up quite nicely against their lighter side counterparts. But this, I think, is going to be the end. 5% ahead now. Seems like the defenders can't be stopped. Although, it's a lot of crossbow fire. And there's still a full unit of the Vanguard of King Elisar. I don't want to call it too early, so I will keep my opinions to myself. But this does seem to be going in a certain direction. We have here Hammerguard trying to disrupt some of these units, taking a nice bite here out of the Veterans of Osgiliath. Exactly the kind of unit that they're very adept at fighting with their high armor value. Oh no! Boromir! No, don't watch, kids. Oh, he's dead. Tragic. Spoilers, Boromir dies. Huh? Camel's Chosen have joined the fray. A lot of lock morale units here, but they're really the last gasp, I would say, of this once mighty attacking push. It seemed like everything was going quite nicely in their favor. They had the numbers, they had the pushing capabilities, but due to some mishaps here and some great moves on the part of the defenders, they have managed to turn this around. And with only 6% of their army remaining, I think it's only a matter of time before a defending victory is declared. Oh no, Orc Javelins, East Front Crossbowmen. Oh, and look at this. Look at all of those Javelins just hitting this completely useless Trebuchet. I don't know if they intended to do that, but the defenders have used these terrain features here to great effect. Just nice situational awareness. Maybe this was the purpose of pushing it forward here all the time. If this hadn't been done, I think maybe we would have seen some Witcher fire come through that gate. And certainly much more Javelins and crossbows. Ooh, just a fierce struggle, though. A really good siege. A lot of veteran players, 90 to 94 so far. We got one final push from the defenders, which I think might be enough to break the resolve of the attackers once and for all. I'm going to go ahead and turn it up just a little bit. You guys get a good look at the carnage here as it unfolds. The final moments of the siege of Minas Ithil. Looking like they're going to result in a defender victory. So there we have it. Let no one say that defenders never win, and let nobody say that the good factions never win. They have certainly proven both of those urban legends wrong today in this very well fought battle. Probably one of the nicest sieges I think I've seen. Good luck for the defenders as well, but also a lot of really good calls, and especially the way that they used their numbers. It was just perfect. And the attackers, they really didn't have too many options. They had to fight their way through these small units in very tight choke points, and yeah, they did their best. But I have to say, I was particularly impressed with the way that the defenders handled a lot of the choke points in this game. Look at that. All of those javelins just being wasted. Something that might have made a big difference and made this a little bit closer. I mean, it's still 5%. Although the Wardens of Amon Lank, look at them. They're definitely sticking to one side, too. Like, they can't be shot over here. This is where the majority of the remaining attackers are, but they also can't be shot through the battlements either. Oh, and there goes the Angmar general, cut down by the Elisar's Vanguard. Which are where exactly? And they're supported by the Hiranak. Not a lot of elves left, just about 100 or so elves, but damn, you gotta hand it to Mirkwood. They were very active in this defense today. Well, let's go ahead, turn it up to 2 times as we move into the final couple thousand frames. And a Mlothian Honor Guard still in the fight, heavily reduced, however. Let's get a look at them from the other side. You can see their new model. And this is it. An excellent effort from the attackers. I can't overstate it enough. They were aggressive. They made a lot of the right calls. There was just a few little small mistakes that ended up being pretty costly in the end. A lot of the javelins just wasting their ammunition. The Witchers not being used to great effect. That's a lot of money that Angmar could have spent on something else. But yeah, especially over here with WK and with Rune's attack, they just did so well. And they just gave it to the defenders in every way possible. They were great with their positional play. We saw some pincer movements there from them, but they managed to trap the defenders using their own streets. excellent work. And the defenders, as I mentioned already, used their choke points well. But a little bit of craftiness here on the part of Sin of the Dark Cloud as well, if this is indeed what he intended to do with his trebuchets. And it ended up paying off for them. And there goes the Nazgul, the final Nazgul. And I think that's going to be the end of the battle. There's a little bit left from Mordor. These Orc Javelins aren't exactly in a great position to do much to the remaining defenders as they sally out to clear their city of this filth. Oh, more javelins, maybe one. Nope, it was a misfire, alas. Eclipse is going to try and run them out of there, but I think they're going to break, and indeed they are. And they're going to be sent howling back to their master in Mordor. Minas Ithil is not going to fall today. Let's just take one last look here. All of this fighting outside the walls. On the inside as well, these two choke points are just heroically defended. Really, really great spectacle. A great game to watch. Thank you so much for Sin of the Dark Cloud and all the players who participated in it. I'm really happy to show you guys this big-time siege from 0.97 that shows off a lot of the new things that we have devised for you guys to have fun with in just a few weeks. So let's take a look at the casualties here. I really want to know what the trebuchet... Look at that! 1,400 kills on the trebuchet. That's like half of his... That's over half. Well, not quite over half, but it's nearly half of Sin of the Dark Cloud's kills came from a single trebuchet alone. It was just used so well situated. Excellent work to him. The elves got the least amount of kills for their team, but they still got nearly 2,000 kills. That's a lot of dead attackers. That's at least an army to themselves that they neutralized. Starling got a lot of kills as well, and a lot of damage done on the part of the attackers. But Angmar, unfortunately, they got a little bit too greedy. I think maybe they thought the victory was a certainty with their numbers, and they just charged in there and they got destroyed. Wave tactics would have been a far better choice. I mean, they were pushing, so it would have been prudent to support that with something. But I probably would have gone in with some. I probably would have gone in with some support units, so I would have had the Hammer Guard in there as well to help spearhead that push, and maybe a couple units of the Guardians of Karn Dûm as well, so that they can buff each other, just so you have a strong beachhead and it's not just going to be massacred the way that we saw it be today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game, and I hope you'll join me for whatever comes next. I hope you're really excited about 0.97. So if you are, and there's something that you're particularly interested in either learning more about, or you just want to express your enthusiasm, be sure to do so down below in the comments section. But in any case, my name is Jordan, also known as J Monster. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!